My name is Charlie Lopez, and I am the MBTA Business Development Specialist operated by the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Here at the Chamber, we are celebrating our 30-year anniversary, and we are so excited. Our vision here at the Chamber is to continue to be the core component for the El Paso region in fostering entrepreneurial economic development, where our existing companies are growing, where our entrepreneurs are reaching new horizons, and where our small minority and women-owned businesses are thriving and outpacing all other markets. Here are our benefits of the Chamber. We have our in-house business development specialists who help connect you to opportunities in financing and procurement. Our chamber also prides itself in being an advocate for you and your voice. We also have two technical assistance centers, one being our Women Business Border Center, which is a joint partnership of the El Paso Hispanic Chamber and the United States Small Business Administration. We also have our MBDA Business Center, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce and operated by the Hispanic Chamber. Both of these centers have COVID response teams. We also just wanted to let everybody know that we have our business survival kits, which we will be doing a drive-through free COVID business survival kit Thursday and Friday. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and read our guest speaker's bio, which is Elia Esparza, is a Latina recording artist, songwriter, content creator, and co-owner of Elia's Natural Products with her mother. She also hosts her own podcast with Beacon Hill Recording Studios and uploads weekly to her YouTube channel with over 13,000 subscribers. She's been featured on The Voice, La Voz Mexico, and American Idol. Esparza has performed in stadiums and opened for artists across the U.S. Her music and creativity go hand in hand and have allowed her to expand into different industries along with supporting her local community. She's currently working on new music, which can be found on all streaming platforms, managing the business with her mother, growing her YouTube channel, and teaming up with local and worldwide brands on creating content. So thank you so much. We're so excited to have you here. I cannot wait to get into our conversation and just getting to know how you started with your career.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
And then just for our audience, if we have any questions for Ms. Esparza, you can leave them down in the Q&A at the bottom, or if you're watching via Facebook, you can send them via Messenger, and she'll go ahead and answer those for you at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, why don't we just start with how did you start and what made you want to pursue your career as a freelance artist, influencer, and to create your own podcast?
Well, I started singing when I was really young, probably around 7 or 8, and I started taking voice lessons and piano lessons at that age. And I think it was really just like installed in me that I knew I wanted to do something in the arts and in entertainment. So I grew up doing acting and music and performing, and it just came really natural to me. So then when I went to college, I went to the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts for Film and Television. That was specifically more for acting and performance. But while living in New York, of course, I started meeting photographers. And even though I wasn't a model, I loved to create different looks. And even though I wasn't in fashion, I love clothing and creating concepts, and started doing that along with like suddenly finding myself in recording studios in New York and meeting all these people in music and fashion and journalism and everything. So it kind of got like a mix of different industries that I was always like interested in, anything to do with creativeness, really.
Right.
So that's how I got started, kind of like into music and creating things. And I remember when Instagram first came out, I was like, oh, I love taking photos. So this is going to be a great platform for me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's like so many, like so much information in that question. And then on a side note, with my mom's products, Elia's Natural Products, she came up with the initial idea, and I said, I'll help you out with all the media and kind of like the creative concept of that. And that's how we teamed up to create her business, essentially.
Right. And jumping into that, I mean, so how is it that you guys just came up with the idea of soaps or the natural products? How is it that you were able to like expand your business, if that makes.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've both always loved like natural remedy, very holistic approaches to beauty, especially when it comes to putting things on your skin. And my mom came up with the idea for soaps. She taught herself how to make them, and we've always both like looked a lot into like what are different, at-home remedies you can do or what's great for the skin or even like hair oils and different things like that. So she really took the initiative to create the soaps and make them natural, use organic products, things to enhance your beauty, things to make you feel good from the inside out.
Mhm.
And I just kind of helped her as far as like creating the colors and the branding and setting her up at the farmers market so that she could not only sell online but also be interactive because my mom's she's a very people person. She likes to talk and she likes to explain everything. So it's like kind of the perfect thing for her to do.
Right. Oh, I love that. And I mean, I know you had mentioned that, um, like your platform with like Instagram and everything like that. How would you say or tell other businesses that are getting started, how important is it for them to start off with like a Instagram base or pushing out their information on in the internet?
I mean, I think it's extremely important. Like so many things I've done have been because of Instagram or YouTube or social media. And so essentially, it's a free profile for selling whatever you're selling, whether it's me as an artist or as a soap and a product and a brand. And it's free. So it's up to your kind of creative ways to come up with ways to express yourself, whether you're selling something or you're not. But I think it's extremely important for businesses to have it. It really sends a message. And even people will buy something based off how images or colors or seeing these different things come together feel. You buy it because you want to feel a certain way from based on like the photo or whatever content it is. And so especially now with like online shopping, like everyone's online shopping, like I'm always
Right.
online shopping.
Everything has been taken to the internet
Yeah,
at
like
that
I don't
point.
even want to go to
Yes.
the store. Yeah, so just being able, like, it's at your fingertips, and so it's like it's so important just to kind of set your foot and put yourself out there because no one has any idea when you're first starting out.
Right, exactly. And I mean, going back to when you're first starting out, I guess you could say starting off as an artist or even just starting off with yours and your mom's business, what were some of the obstacles that you guys had to overcome, or just you as an artist? Like, what is it that you needed to overcome to get to where you guys are as a business and where you are right now?
Yeah, I think when Instagram came out and like YouTube was becoming popular, and I was seeing all these like different images, and it was just kind of like random stuff. It wasn't as like curated content in a sense. But for me, I think the most difficult thing was just like filming myself and recording a song or taking a more artistic selfie, if that makes sense, or doing a photo shoot. But mostly, for sure, it was like just sitting down and filming myself singing. It's such a vulnerable thing to do for anyone,
Right.
whether you're good or you're not. And so putting myself out there slowly but surely, like my first videos on YouTube are horrendous.
Right, but it takes also, I think, a level of confidence and courage to also, how you were saying, put film yourself like that obstacle, because I mean, it's hard to be able to do that. I mean, you're putting yourself out there in front of, you don't know who, you have 13,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
So,
like collectively, I looked the other day on my YouTube and I have over 1 million views from all the videos that I've put out.
right.
And it's crazy because I can like look at a certain video and know exactly like, oh, this is how I felt that day, or I didn't think this was good at all. And my most viewed video on YouTube, I almost didn't upload because I was like, it's not that good. And it's my most viewed video. So like sometimes you just have to kind of bite the bullet and just like it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's the thing that I learned through the years of like instead of trying to make something super perfect, um, you just have to put yourself out there and then you progress as you go. Because if you look at a lot of YouTubers or my first video, they're not good at all. And then through the years, I progress as far as like my vocal ability, my confidence, my presence on the camera, the quality of the video, everything kind of elevates eventually. I always tell people like you have to just start somewhere. Like just start with what you have. I think I filmed my first video with like an iPhone 3 and was just like yelling at the camera basically like the sound quality is terrible, but like eventually I got, I invested in myself and was able to progress. And for sure, like I was not confident when I started putting out videos, but I think it forced me to just like deal with it and get comfortable in front of the camera, especially because I was doing acting for film and TV. I had to be comfortable. So I had to get used to seeing myself and hearing myself and moving my body and using my voice and really just getting comfortable. So then eventually I was like, I don't care what anyone thinks. Like I'm just gonna try. I'm just gonna try
Right.
and put myself out there because you'd be surprised how many people like you think like especially now I mean everyone says everything is oversaturated whatever industry you're doing, and especially in music like there's so many singers, there's so many artists, but there's so many people that are not putting themselves out there. And so it's like at least you're one of and the percentage that is, and you never know what can come from it. Essentially like that's how The Voice found me, was
Right.
because of my YouTube videos.
Oh my gosh, wow. And I guess like that's something that our viewers can take away from that is that it's a growing and learning experience. And it's just that risk that you're willing to take, and it'll eventually get you to where you want to be. And that you're just like not always going to be where you want to when you start, but you're going to get there eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. And so I guess another thing that we would want to ask you is how do others treat you being a Latina entrepreneur? I mean, going into The Voice or going into American Idol or just the platform that you have right now, have you had any negative feedback or any obstacles that you've ever had to overcome to help you?
You know what? Honestly, as a Latina, I've never felt the negative consequences of it. I've actually felt like people embrace that a lot. I don't know why. And maybe I'm just lucky, but I really, even when I did The Voice, everyone was like, "Ooh, you're singing in Spanish. That's so cool." Like, everyone was really loving in that sense. And even when the show came out and everything, I really didn't get a lot of negative comments because I was Latina or even like my performance. I felt a lot of support actually because, I sang a Selena song and people love Selena. And so they kind of connected that with me and they're like, you did her justice. So thankfully, because I get a lot of negative comments for like a bunch of other reasons, but not as a
Right.
Latina, luckily. And I will say weirdly though, on La Voz Mexico, I got a lot of negative comments because I wasn't living in Mexico. I'm
Oh,
Mexican.
wow.
My parents are Mexican, but I've never lived in Mexico.
Right.
And a lot of people were offended and they're like, she's white and she doesn't deserve to be here. So it was kind of like the opposite.
Oh my gosh, wow. I would not expect that.
Oh yeah, it was like so brutal. I mean, people say crazy stuff on the internet, but that was definitely so weird to experience because when I did the American one, it was not that at all. Everyone was like, yeah, like super supportive. And so I
Right.
feel blessed in that sense because I think people like, different cultures coming together and a mix of everything, of races, of cultures, of music, of languages. And I think people really embrace that as far as like in the music community. Like they don't just want one thing. So I haven't experienced that in the music industry, but for sure, like the La Voz Mexico, they were not happy about
And
me.
how did you take that, or how did you overcome that negative feedback?
I mean, I think I've dealt with a lot of rejection in my life, especially going to acting school and going to auditions and kind of going in with the mindset like, this, I'm probably not going to get this. And so negative comments obviously still sting,
Right.
especially if it's criticizing like your voice or your character and things like that, but I really don't give it any more energy than it needs. I see it, I read it, and I just kind of laugh because at the end of the day, like these random strangers on the internet don't know who I am, and like they can't control me just because, they feel a certain negative way about themselves. So I always think that people who take the time to write out a negative comment really have a lot more to deal with themselves, and so it's
Right.
really not my problem, if that makes sense. But it still
Yes,
hurts.
that does. No, it does. And I mean, I guess
Yeah.
you can say, is that something that also helps you to stay positive? Like what helps you stay positive and being so happy? Because I mean, from talking to you, you seem like a very genuine individual, just happy and just wanting to spread positivity. I mean, from your comments and your answers from my questions.
Thank you. I mean, I've always been like a ball of energy, but I do like to take time to like take care of my mental self, my physical self, like exercising, journaling, and like listening to music, watching inspiring things. I every single day, like one of my goals is to just get inspired, whatever that means. It could just be watching like a music video or looking on Pinterest for photos or journaling. Every morning I get up and I write 5 things that I'm grateful for, and instantly everything starts to kind of feel like it's all going to work out. Like it
Right.
definitely, like my life is not perfect or anything, and I have my down days for sure. um and when I'm down, I feel like this is not this is not who I am, but it's just like it's the balance of life. And I really just kind of like to put myself in situations where, okay, like I have all my tools: journaling, singing, going for a walk, exercising. Luckily, my family is positive. They've always been positive people, and I live with my boyfriend, and he's a very optimistic, positive person. So I think it's like who you surround yourself with, your environment, and yeah, inspiring yourself, like doing things that you love. I don't really do anything that I don't love to do, essentially. I mean, of course, like I don't like to go and put gas and things like that, but like
Right.
but like I do all the normal things. But when it comes down to it, every single day I try to fill my day with things that fulfill me, and I think that's what really kind of sets off my positive, happy vibes for the day. And if that means getting ready and going nowhere, then that's what that means, you know? So
Oh, I
just
love
doing things
that.
that
And
make me happy, yeah.
I mean, I know you had mentioned that your family loved like having your family around you and that your boyfriend, because he's so positive. Would you say that any individual inspires you the most, or do you look up to any of other of those individuals?
I mean, of course, I look up to my parents, of course, and I do look up to God and like feel like I have all glory to give to Him, because essentially I wouldn't be here or have a purpose without Him. Um, but I really looked at artists a lot of the time, or I love to read biographies on successful people, and I like to listen to podcasts that are uplifting and stories. I really like to hear stories about people because it makes it feel like the struggles that I'm going through, it's not just me. It's everyone, and I hear, especially when you hear like crazy stories about people and what they've been through, and yet they're still happy and successful, like that really, that leaves me in awe a lot of the time, the strength of people. um but for sure, like artists that I just love to listen to, like I could listen to Celine Dion and literally cry. Just I
Oh,
think of Celine and I'm like, I'm gonna cry because I love her.
and I mean, I know you, so you mentioned about the struggles that other people are going through. I guess one struggle that everyone right now is going through it would be COVID-19.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's affected so many businesses, it's affected people's work lives. How or has it affected your business with your mom or just you and your personal brand? How have you been able to deal with that?
Well, luckily for my mom's business, we got a lot of online traffic when COVID started happening and the farmers markets were shut down. So luckily she was still able to be selling and get her product out, and we started making face masks because it was just like all of a sudden like everyone needs a face mask. So my mom jumped on that really quick, and we did really well, which is great. And then now that the farmers markets are open, it's a little better because she's able to leave the house. My mom
Right.
literally did not leave the house at all, which is great for her. And I was the one getting the groceries and things like that for the family. But as far as me, uh, it really changed a lot because I was working at Beacon Hill Recording Studios, so I was there Monday through Friday, and then I was gigging Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes every weekend for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And so to go from constantly like being busy, going places and performing and singing and being able to sing in person, like it just completely stopped. And I think at first I really actually was kind of grateful for the downtime. I was like, you know what? I was exhausted. I was like working like 9 hours a weekend. And so it
Right.
was kind of nice to take a little bit time off, but I totally miss it so much right now. Like I miss going to live music. I miss performing in front of people. And my boyfriend also, who's a touring musician, went from touring every weekend to like I think they've had 5 shows this whole year, which is crazy.
Right.
So it's definitely affected us a lot, but again, like I stay optimistic. I've been writing music, I took music courses, I've been able to create more content online and still continue being creative and artistic. And like that's always my main goal is just like as long as I'm being creative in whatever outlet that means, doing media for my mom, doing media for like social media posts and sponsored posts and things like that, creating content, creating, songs. I did release a song during COVID, um, which was still fun too, but like I definitely miss being live. There's nothing like in-person live music, so it's definitely changed that. But I think slowly but surely it's coming as we slowly open, it's gonna
Right.
be coming out. I'm singing at the downtown food court this weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they have, I guess like the restaurants downtown are gonna each have like a booth, and it's limited seating and limited space, but I'll be performing I think like for 2 hours. And so that'd just be nice to like be outside and perform on a Friday and Saturday night.
Right. It's exciting because it's like how you said, little by little, things are kind of starting to go back to normal.
Yeah.
But I mean, you were able to adjust and during this time and just stay positive while you could. And I guess that's just something our viewers can take away is try to adjust as much as they can. And I mean, like how you said, your mom was able to do business online,
Yeah.
so that could encourage businesses as well to try to push their content through like social media platforms or stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's just that change is inevitable. And so the more you fight it, the more you're gonna feel the change as opposed to just going with it. And sometimes it's a lot harder um, to actually do than just
Mhm.
say, like, oh, I'm just gonna change. But once you kind of just accept that concept of like and not think of like, oh well, if this hadn't have happened, I could have done this. And if this, you just don't know. This is just the
Right.
way life is. But the more I feel you accept that concept and go with it and just be like, oh, this is happening, great, I'm gonna do this. And the better I think the result will be overall.
Yeah, and I mean, from what you're saying, it sounds like you've adapted and you, I guess, something that you could tell people is to be unique as an entrepreneur because I mean, you're gonna have to adapt to new things.
Yeah.
Just like this happening, I mean, no one knew that this pandemic was going
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what do you think is unique about you as an entrepreneur, and what would you give advice to other people to help them become unique?
Um, I think like the biggest thing is doing for me, like I do what feels natural. I follow my intuition and I do what feels right. And if it's too forced, if something, is just like not coming together, I kind of like let it go and see if it comes back in a sense. But I'm just Myself. I know that sounds like so cheesy and you hear that everywhere, but like when people say like just be yourself and all of that, but really like just be yourself. And it's hard because you don't want to, whatever you're doing, right? I'm sure people go immediately look like, if I want to be an artist, I go and look at my favorite artists. What are they doing? Follow in their footsteps in a sense, but you don't want to compare yourself to other people as well. And you can't really let what other people are doing affect what you're doing. You just have to kind of go on your flow and remember that, everything is in its own time.
Right.
So even though for me, like, I haven't released a lot of music or I haven't like performed a lot, like, and I see other artists doing that, like I can't feel like I don't let that like enter my mind too much because then it gets me down. And comparison is the thief of joy. So you have to really just do your thing, be yourself, do it your way. And like there's such a huge, I see it like all over Instagram and stuff or social media of like everyone kind of sticks to, like a certain plan, if that makes sense. Maybe it's their own plan and a certain look, a certain vibe, a certain niche, if that makes sense. And for me, that's the hardest thing to do. Like, one day I want to be like super chill and in comfiness and write acoustic music. And then the next day I want to do like a disco album and I'm wearing tiger print and like sequins and stuff. So, like, it's just kind of like you have to just follow what feels right. That's what I do. And I get kind of crazy ideas and just, if it inspires me, then I follow it. And if the next day I'm like, you know what, I don't think I'm going to do that, that's fine. But like, it's just really following what inspires you, what feels right, what feels natural, and trying different things, even if they don't work out. Like, at least, like, I tried that and that wasn't really for me. But I think a lot of people are trying to be like the same person in a sense, like the same type of artist, the same type of influencer, the same color palette, the same everything, that's getting oversaturated. So you really just want to find what is you. And if it is that like, oh, I like a natural palette and I like very minimum makeup and I like, do that. But then if you get inspired to do something else, like follow that. It just it's again back to the changing thing. Like I don't think everyone is just like you're these bullet points. You have to follow this for the rest of your life. Like I know I'm a singer and a songwriter, but I love acting and I love fashion and I love YouTube and I like business and I like creating content. So it's kind of like I always think like, am I making everyone super confused of like what I want to do? But half
Right.
the time I'm like, well, I want to do a lot of stuff and I love music and I want to perform, but I also want to be creating content in the back where maybe I'm not the main focus. So I think back to your question, sorry I'm rambling, is just to
No, no, you're fine. Go on. I mean,
it's just following what feels inspiring to you, what sparks joy, what is making you like, I would work all night on this if I could status and following that and not really worrying if it's I think it's always just good to like put things out and then adjust as you go.
and so
Because
would you say that that's how you generate new ideas is just your interest? Is that how you?
yeah, I mean, I'm constantly on Pinterest, right? Like looking at images that inspire me, constantly listening to different kinds of music. I'll go from like country to like disco to, really moody music to rock and roll. It really, and like all of these things inspire me visually. I'm a very visual person, and they inspire song ideas and they inspire concepts for the music video and they inspire, different things for photo shoots and just creating different things. And you don't have to even do it as like a professional thing. If there's something you like, it's just do it. You know what I mean? Like I
And I
started.
mean, you sound so courageous, so I think asking you this question is a little bit redundant. But I mean, do you have a fear? I mean, in this doing these new ideas like your podcast, your YouTube channel, is there something that ever holds you back? Is there something that scares you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm afraid like every day. I'm like half the time I wake up, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But yeah, I mean, it's always the fear of like, you write a song and you put it out and you hope that people listen to it, and then half the time I'm thinking to myself like, no one cares. But and that's the thing. It's like you're gonna be afraid, whatever it is. I'm not terrified, but I feel like it's that quote, like you feel the fear and do it anyway. You're like, well, we're already trying it, so let's just do it. And because I think my biggest fear is like is waking up one day and being like, what if I was like, I should have tried that, or I should have just, put out this, or I should have made that video, or I should have, gone on a road trip and just done it. Like, I think that's the worst fear of like not having have lived than to have lived and failed in a sense. And I think we forget that like we're gonna probably live a really long life, and
We might as well do something
you
that
might
you
as well
love.
try weird, crazy things or whatever it is. So with the podcast, like I love podcasts. Like I like hearing stories and concepts and all this different stuff, and I like learning about health and fitness and mental stuff and just random things, right? Beauty, skincare, all of the things. And so for me with the podcast, the main focus was to interview people and talk to them about their experiences, sharing their journey, and not highlighting their failures, but just sharing that like everyone is going to go through these turmoils and failures and moments of like I didn't even think I could do this, and then they come out on the other side and they're still in the process. Like I think the biggest thing is that when people look at like successful people, that doesn't mean they're done. They're still, you know,
Progressing.
on that journey. And I think people think like, oh, well, she did The Voice, so she's made it, and like that's not at all. Like that's just like that was like the first step of really taking my career to the next level, and I was lucky enough to take advantage of that and really grow into more of a name and more of a brand and discover a lot about myself as well. But I mean, it's a never-ending journey, in any career. It's just constant finding new ways, staying creative, staying happy, and constantly learning. That's yeah.
And so I guess another question would be, what kind of culture do you think exists in your organization? I mean, and how did you establish it? Like, how were you able to make sure that that culture exists in your organization?
I mean, I don't right now, like I have a small team at Beacon Hill Recording Studios. So it's like the media director and then also the engineer and producer. And they know that I'm gonna come up with something weird and strange and that I'm gonna text them in the middle of the night. I'm like, we should do this, you know? And and I think I just like to be around people, my friends included, and people that I collaborate with who are open-minded and down to kind of go that extra mile. And um, because I work a lot on my own, I feel like I come up with like the concepts and ideas and the songs, and I do like kind of the photos separate from my mom and things like that. Like I just kind of continue to inspire myself by visually seeing things, by going out and trying places, by traveling. We can't really travel right now, but you know what I mean? Like just going to a thrift store or an antique store, or just kind of constantly thinking of ideas, because I feel like once you're on that mindset of like, oh, like I should do this. Oh, like your kind of ideas come up. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes I don't like to say that I'm like coasting, but there's weeks where I'm just like trying to get through the day and no ideas come up and no inspiration is there. But when it is, you take advantage and you just kind of go from there. I don't know if that really answers your question. I know you said like,
No, it does.
I
It
feel
does.
like I have an organization, but I like to be with people and collaborate with people who are super creative and just like out of the box and, you know, kind of finding their own name or reason as to whatever we're doing together, and creating kind of like magical content from that. So
Right. No, it does answer my question. I mean,
okay.
it's just saying, it was basically just asking, I mean, because you're so positive and how you said you're always looking for something new, kind of how you keep or build that foundation. And I mean, I think it's with the people that help you as well.
Yeah.
So another question would be, what would you say are the top 3 skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur?
Oh man. Okay. Starting with what you have, whatever knowledge you have, whatever equipment you have, whatever money you have, just start with what you have and
Right.
grow from there. Second would obviously be a hustler in the sense of, if find what works for you and really focus on your strengths as opposed to your weaknesses. Um, so if you're a morning person and you like schedules, like follow that, get, whatever kind of rituals get you in that zone, follow that. Um, Definitely focusing on your strengths. I'm not good at math, so I don't do math. No, just kidding. I
Me too.
focus
It's okay. I
on what
understand.
I can do and what I like to do,
Right.
and I outsource things that I'm like, yeah, that's not what I do. So let's, work together. And three, I mean, I would say just you've got to learn to go with the changes and be optimistic about them, because you never know what opportunities can come from them. Um, and sorry, the quick fourth one of like, just
Oh
do it.
no, of course.
Do it. Like, I heard a quote, I don't know who said it or what, but I've been saying it for years. I'm like, half of the people don't show up and don't commit to like whatever their dream is. So it's just like half of the work is just showing up and just doing it. And
Right.
if it doesn't turn out well, then it doesn't turn out well. And then half the time it turns out better than you even expected. So it's just like whatever it is, you just have to show up and do it. Because again, back to that concept I was talking about, like there's so many people that don't put themselves out there. So you want to be on the other half where they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, I know in that question I had said successful. What would be success? How would you define success?
I mean, for me, success is definitely doing what I love every day and being able to live comfortably off of it. Um, but I mean, the main thing is happiness. Like, you could be making a lot of money and not be happy. So for me, it's really being inspired every day and slowly growing in your success, because I think everyone reaches certain little successes in their lives. Um, but that doesn't mean it gets any easier. You just have to keep going. So for me, it's definitely like my mental health is priority, and making sure I'm doing what I love every single day and slowly growing that in, a lifestyle. So making sure that I'm living the lifestyle and the life that I want to live.
I completely agree with you. I think everybody has their own definition of success, and you worded it perfectly by just explaining that it's what fulfills you.
Yeah, yeah.
So even though I can sit here and talk with you all day and ask you questions, we do have questions in our Q&A, so I'm going to go ahead and read those off.
Okay.
Um, who were you? Oh, sorry. Who were your key mentors in your career, and who is your role model?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I think key mentor when I was younger was my vocal teacher when I was about like 15. She really kind of instilled in me the discipline that I needed to be a singer and a performer. So I really give a lot of credit to her, because she would make me sing from opera to classical music to pop to Broadway to all of the things. So I really admired her for instilling that discipline. Second would be J. Chris Griffin. He was my vocal coach in New York, and he was probably the only vocal coach I had in New York during my time there. But he more changed my mindset as far as approaching my career. And he taught me, he literally said I could sing any song, and I believed him. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, but I don't know what it was, how he said it, and how my time with him really made me believe in myself when I didn't believe in myself. Um, and he said, like, you can literally sing any song, you just have to believe it. And that completely, I think, changed the course of my life in a sense. Um, I definitely look up to the guys at Beacon Hill Recording Studios. You know, they did like Khalid's album and they are Grammy nominated and they're very hardworking people. So I definitely I mean, I create all my music with them. So for sure, I see the owner as a mentor and someone who I trust. And I know they would never, you want to find people that aren't going to fluff things up, that are going to
Right.
tell you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. So yeah.
I agree 100%. So where would you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Oh man. Well, one of my goals is for sure to make an album within the next 5 years, like a solidified album that really states who I am as an artist. I think I'm still in discovery of that. And we do have plans. My boyfriend is part of a band in Nashville, so we do have plans to move there within the next year. And I love Nashville so much. So I'm hoping that once I get to Nashville, I'm able to connect with producers, other songwriters, um, get performing over again, and hopefully on tour. That would be the dream, to have an album and tour it and, you know, be living the artist dream. Oh, and then, sorry, and hopefully have some sort of my own business, maybe to do
Okay.
with like either like music or something. I feel like I want to create my own business, as I'm just not sure what yet.
Okay. As long as you're getting like you're thinking about it.
Yeah, like I think growing, I do want to grow as a content creator as well, because I just love coming up with concepts and outfits and, you know, going to weird places and shooting things and things like that. So I think continuing to grow as a content creator and hopefully work with some really cool people in that sense as well.
That's awesome. So I know you had mentioned that hopefully maybe within the next year to move to Nashville, but we do have a question asking why you decided to come back to El Paso.
Oh, good question. So I was living in New York and I was there for 6 years, and that last year was so rough. That last year was really rough. And I got on The Voice and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna move out of my apartment. I'm gonna put everything in storage. I'm gonna go to LA. And I was in LA for The Voice. And as soon as you lose on The Voice, they're like, where do you want to fly?
Right.
And I was like, well, I don't have a place in New York, so I think I'll go back to El Paso and just kind of chill out for a little bit and figure out my next step. I don't know if I was going to move to LA or back to New York or what my plan was. So I came back here and I was lucky enough to spend some time with my family because I moved when I was 17. So I felt like I needed some chill family time and just kind of like, I felt really jaded from New York at that point. So I think it was what I really mentally needed. Um, and then as soon as the show came out, I started getting booked. So I was doing, you know, photo shoots and performances and I was singing all over the place and I just started getting booked. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to stay here until that slows down because, you know, I'm getting paid to sing and to perform and I'm here with my family. And I really appreciated, like, after living in a big city for 6 years, I really appreciated the calmness here and
Right.
just kind of like the simpler things. I don't know if that, like, even just being in a car, I was like, it's so nice to drive. Like, you appreciate like little things that you didn't know you'd miss as opposed to being with like 50 people on a subway cart. So, yeah, and I've never, well, up until COVID, I've been booked ever since. And I decided to stay. I was going to go to LA, but I decided to stay a little bit longer. And then I started dating my boyfriend, but luckily he's in music and we've both definitely want to move to Nashville, um, and, you know, continue our creative musical journey. So it's been, I actually really love El Paso, and I love the fact that I can be based here and go to LA or go to Nashville or go to New York and then come back home. There's something so calming here, and I love the outdoors, but I really like the desert, interestingly. I know that's so weird, but like there's so many cool,
Especially because in New York, it's so cold over there and it's not.
it's the worst. I hate the winter. I hate it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have another question. Can you share any tips to get out of your comfort zone? I struggle with that a lot.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So comfort zone, basically anything that you're uncomfortable with, it's just because you haven't experienced it or done it, right? So like I teach voice lessons, so when I'm having a student sing a certain song or a certain note, I have them just do it. And I tell them like no judgment, just try it. You're probably going to mess up. I'm not here to criticize you in any way, but like just doing it, and then you do it over and over and over again until you get to it and you're like, I know this like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
Um, so the way I would approach, I'm not sure what they're uncomfortable with, but like whatever you're doing, try it alone. Obviously, try doing it alone. It's like working out. Like you work out at home, because if you don't know the gym, it's very intimidating. So you try it at home alone. If it's something to do with like singing or even just talking to the camera, creating a YouTube channel, something like that, then start filming yourself and get more comfortable with it. And even if that day you're like, well, I tried, that didn't come out great, but I tried, you'd be surprised by the next time you come back to it, whatever it is, you feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more confident in whatever it is. I know it sounds a lot easier said than done to just do it, but like you kind of have to have that I don't care mindset. So when I'm recording a song, of course, I'm thinking technical wise, I'm thinking emotional wise, I'm thinking performance wise, I'm thinking all of these things. And I always have to have a take where it's like the F it take. Like I'm not gonna care. I'm just gonna do it. And usually that's the best take. Cause I would definitely just you have to kind of like know what you're doing in a sense, like whatever it is, you have to know like the technical side, attach whatever emotional side that needs to be, and then you have to like let it go into the wind. I hope that helps. I
I
hope that
think that was the best advice and the way that you can honestly confront. Because I mean, I think it's hard to come out of your comfort zone, and it really is just how you worded it.
yeah.
Um, Another question would be, how do you best manage and balance your time?
Oh man. Okay. So many uh, trial and errors of just creating a routine. I love routines so much. Even some days, though, I feel like I don't have enough time in the day. So for me, I have kind of something that I've been doing for the probably the past like 10 years is like I wake up, I work out, and I journal. So I would say light movement, hydration for sure. So creating some sort of routine for yourself is going to help you accomplish the most that you want to accomplish that day. So I make lists every single day. After I've worked out, after I've journaled and I vocalize, which are like non-negotiables. So maybe like set up what your non-negotiables are. If that's like, I have to have my coffee before I do anything, then, add that to your non-negotiable, or I have to meditate or do yoga or whatever it is. Um, or spend 15 minutes outside. I make a list. So I've already accomplished gym, journal, vocalizing, and drinking water. Um, After that, I kind of try and tackle what needs to get done for that day for sure. Like the top three things that I need to do. And if that's like, okay, you have to take photos for this brand, you have to record a song and film yourself and then edit the video and then post it. And then you have to I don't know, submit something. So like I make what are the top three things that first things that I'm going to do, my priorities and things that have to get done that day. And then there's always like a never ending list, right? There's always like many other things afterwards where I'm like, oh, if I have time, I'll do this, this, and this. But for sure, making a list, have your non-negotiables, things that you have to do every single day that like make you feel like a human, and um, and then go from there. And trust me, like it's not all gonna get done every day.
Right.
And sometimes I think like, wow, like I should have, I don't know, I should have done this for longer, or I should have stayed up longer and done finished it. But you have to just prioritize like, your rest and your eating and all of that. So I try and wake up at the same time every day. I wake up at 6 every day. Um, I go to work out, and then I will read for 30 minutes, and then I will make my list. I'll shower, vocalize, journal, have breakfast, get to my emails. And then usually from there, I'll decide like, okay, am I creating content today? Am I editing a video? Am I posting for my mom's website? Like, what are we doing? Type of
Right.
situation, making a list. And half the time, I don't finish half of the list because it's not enough time, or your brain is like, I'm done with you. But yeah, creating a list. That's like the biggest thing in the nutshell of like, and prioritizing.
I agree with you. I think one of the hardest things I have is managing my time. So
It's hard.
it definitely
I get distracted.
is.
Yeah.
um, so our last question is, where did you get your hair done? It's so pretty.
Ooh, thanks. So I get my hair done with Samantha at Your New Image, which is on the east side. And if you follow me on Instagram, I tag her in most of my photos. So you can just follow her, Your New Image.
And that was one thing that I forgot to mention or touch on is that I did see that on you. Sorry, I lost my place.
Okay.
Um, oh, that you have a strong connection with local businesses. I'm so sorry. So how, I just wanted to, your opinion on how important it is to help your local businesses. Like, what is,
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first got here and was performing at all these events, I met all these business owners and entrepreneurs and different creatives here in El Paso, and have kept in touch. Or El Paso is like a big city, but it feels like a small town sometimes because you always see people everywhere. But it's super important because you just have to think like whatever you're trying to accomplish and that you put your heart and soul into, so is everybody else. So, and when people feel that support, they'll give it back to you. Not that that's why you should support local businesses, but it's really like you don't know what your one purchase or your one shout out on your social media could mean to them. And there's a lot of way to support local without even spending money, even just spreading the word, tagging them. If you do spend, money on their product or food or whatever it is, like, make sure to tag them, make sure to follow them, or and tell your friends about them. I personally just love to share local businesses because everyone already knows how Applebee's tastes, and everyone already knows how Starbucks is, and everyone already knows that. So it's like, I think people always complain there's like not enough like different cool things in El Paso, but there really are. And there's people who are creating new things, and there's people who are coming up with like super cool concepts. Um, and so being able to just share it and be a part of it and support them, um, is fun. It's only gonna help you in a sense. Like it's not really gonna take away from you. And I I feel it in the sense of like if someone says, "Oh, I really liked your song," and it costs them nothing to listen to it. Like I'm like, "You took the time to listen to my song," it means a lot. So I think with businesses, you don't know that like the little gestures of just shouting them out or being like, "Hey, like I really liked, I don't know, your donut," like I really liked your donut, and I tell all my friends about it. They're like, "Oh my God, thank you." People here especially are like so giving and so wonderful, and I think we just have to support our own for sure.
well, that's awesome. I enjoyed our conversation. I mean, you kind of touched on everything, and I'm sure our viewers just took a lot from what you had to share with us. I know I forgot to mention in the beginning, but we do have a surprise for you all.
Yes.
Um, Elia and her boyfriend, Mark Ramos, who is a professional guitar player and lead guitarist for Frank Ray, are going to perform a song for us in closing. So I'm going to go ahead and let you all take it away.
Okay, let me go get him.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay, and as I had mentioned before about the COVID bag, our business survival COVID bags, we're going to be doing our drive-through on Thursday and Friday here at the El Paso Hispanic Chamber. So please do stop by and don't be afraid to come get your kit. So, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you. So this is an original song that we wrote a couple years ago, and we're actually going to release it soon. So if you want to listen to it, it'll be on Spotify soon, and it's called One and Only. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a boy by the church, shows me his secrets, shows me his records, and we play songs together. Come Sunday morning and we're catching sunsets. He leaves me speechless with no regrets. Our time is sacred, our kiss is holy. Lord Almighty, I'm His one and only. Lord knows I'm His one and only. No, he don't say much, speaks with his eyes, knows how to tell me, but I realize that boy's my weakness, my solid ground. He keeps me even spinning around. Our time is sacred, but our kiss is holy. Lord Almighty, I'm His one and only. Lord knows I'm His one and only. Deep down forever is just a dream. He'll always have a part of me. I stand beside him on holy wall, running from tigers, 'cause heaven knows our time is sacred, our kiss is holy. Lord Almighty, I'm His one and only. Lord knows I'm His one and only. Yeah, our time is sacred, our kiss is holy. Lord Almighty, I'm His one and only. Lord knows I'm His one and
Yay! Oh, I love that. Thank you so much again for having this conversation with us. I'm sure our viewers loved it. We can't wait to see more of your content, and we're so happy to have had you with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you all. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.